Washrooms are located in the atrium, gents to the west and ladies to the east. Is our safety briefing. There are no planned evacuation drills or exercises today. As a result, in the event of an emergency, an alarm will be raised. You will then be instructed to move urgently and orderly to our main muster point located on our southern lawn. To access this muster point, kindly proceed in a southerly direction, exiting through the southern glass doors of the auditorium, through the atrium, through the lobby, to the muster point located on the southern lawn west of the guard booth. If this route becomes inaccessible, you are asked to proceed through the emergency exits demarked by green arrows to the east and west of this building. Once outside, you are asked to proceed in a southerly direction to the same muster point as indicated earlier. At the muster point, further instructions will be provided before being allowed to return to the building. For your convenience, the washrooms are located in the atrium, gents to the west and ladies to the east. No eating or drinking is allowed within the auditorium. Thank you for your time, as we do hope you enjoy your stay here.
Forged from the love of liberty in the fires of hope and prayer, with boundless faith in our destiny, we solemn. Side by side we stand, islands of the blue Caribbean Sea. This our native land, we pledge our lives to thee. Here every creed and race find an equal place, and may God bless our nation. Here every creed and race find an equal place, and may God bless our nation.
Almighty God, most beneficial and merciful, Creator of the universe and embodiment of divine wisdom and light. Leader of the opposition, Ms. Kamala Prasad B. Sessa, whom I normally refer to as KPB Plus. I think the plus takes care of all her achievements over the years. The Senior Counsel, former Prime Minister. The Mayor of Chaguanas, Mr. Mohammed. I also want to recognize the MP Vandana Mohit, ladies and gentlemen. They have been working assiduously to get this program on the ground for this town meeting or the town hall. And I'd like you to give them a nice round of applause for making this happen today. Also to let you know, folks, that for the first time, we are on WAC.tv. Well, not the first time, but the first time that we are reaching a global audience for those of you who may have been following the carnival celebrations, they had over 119,000 online viewers. And tonight we are quite happy to announce that we are tapping into this global audience for our town hall. We also joined by WESN, Content Capital, some of the, what we call the premier networks, I-95.5, and TV6 a little later on. I also want to welcome, I'm told that the former mayor of Port of Spain, Mr. Louis Lee Singh, is here. And Louis, it's good to see that you have hope in the opposition. Good to see that. Good to see. I had to say that. Now, there are a lot of people either in the audience or watching at home who may have experienced a loss of a life, a home invasion, or have had an encounter with violent crime. What the opposition is trying to do today, folks, is to energize citizens so collectively we can come up with the best ideas for a plan that's workable, one that can save lives, and one that can save the nation. These anti-crime town halls are a result of over 5 years of public meetings, the highly acclaimed Monday night report, the pavement report, press conferences. We're talking about hundreds of hours of advocacy from opposition parliamentarians inside and outside the parliament. We're talking about days, months of consistent work from councillors and ordinary people who have been working assiduously. This is not a boast, nor is it a self-praise. It's merely a recognition of a key part of our nation's executive that's been working assiduously to get this work done. This work follows a similar path to what the Road March champion Mikhail Teacher Williams called the many years of hard work that feels like destiny. Tonight, Chaguanas, this is your destiny. This is your town hall to bring about a solution to crime that plagues this nation. It was during these years, ladies and gentlemen, you would have heard, and I think I just saw him, MP Barry Padarat, who himself and his family were victims of a robbery in 2017. And you would have heard him make the case for public safety over and over. You would have heard MP Dr. Munilal articulate the need for home invasions to be included in the law books as a specific offense with a heavy jail term. And for those of you who follow all these meetings, he's one of the top speakers who can take almost any national issue, national security, whether it's education, and break it down so that the ordinary man could understand. You would have heard Senator Mark, and you know Senator Mark, if you give him 5 sentences, he can turn that into 5 hours of talk. You would have heard him on motions for systems to deal with violent crimes against women and girls. You would have heard people like Khadija Amin, Saddam Hussein, Rudy Indar Singh, Khadija, who was versed on local government, has always been talking about crime in the community. Saddam, an expert on breaking down legal technical jargon so that the ordinary citizen can understand what is at stake. Rudy Indar Singh, you would have seen him moving around in his constituency. Anywhere there's an explosion, an upsurge in crime, any upheaval, he is on the ground moving around. You would have heard Senator Jolene John raise the specter of black youth and the upheaval in their communities. And she has repeatedly said that if there's no peace in the black communities, there will be no peace anywhere. But due to time, I just want to condense a part of my speech because I know Professor Kojo is going to watch me because he's going to think I'm taking his time. But this is a very important point. Senator John has also brought to our attention another part of the conversation that no one wants to really confront, and that is the stereotype in which the perpetrators of and victims of crime are defined by race. So that you have voices out there saying, well, we have the truth. Look at the videos, look at the footage from security cameras, look at the newspaper. And what you'll see from these claims that it's young men of African descent committing the crimes. And what they're saying is that this is the truth of who are committing the crimes, and therefore we should find a solution along this path. But that's not really an analysis. It's really acting on a primordial instinct that can gaslight this society and lead us into a path of chaos. And I want to give two examples of why this is dangerous ground for our democracy. I want to take your minds back to Friday's Express, Justice Frank Sipasad, for those of you who read the story. He said that he has been the target of racist attacks following his judgment in the Western Rollins case. The judge went on in the story, and there's some very vitriolic racist language that was sent to the judge, and he made it public, some of which I cannot repeat on this live broadcast. But the inference here in that story is that a person of African descent will never get justice before an Indian judge. That's the corrosive nature of the stereotype, and the folks who feel that somehow there's a truth to that. Now, here's a judge being tainted by individuals who are walking a very narrow line that can split this nation in two. But he is not alone in this matter. On the other side of the argument, there is a fierce backlash. And let me take your minds back to December last year, somewhere around the 17th of December. Most of you will remember a woman and a man were shot, fatally shot, in the court's car park in Samoa. Do you know, ladies and gentlemen, that the woman who was killed is the wife of Alderman Kareem Beard? I think he's an alderman in the Tunapuna Corporation. Or Samuel Laventil. Thank you, sir. UNC alderman, yes. In the Samuel Laventil Corporation. And the man who was killed is his brother-in-law. So in one shot, he lost two people. You know what he said a few weeks ago at one of our public meetings? He said, aside from having to deal with the personal pain and the tragedy, he, just like Justice Sipasad, had to deal with the description on social media that his wife is a criminal. And to quote his own words, he said, well, you know, I pick her up on a morning, I drop she to work, I pick she back up. Say, my wife is no criminal. But hear this. You know what he went on to say? He said that once you're on the east-west corridor, you are a victim of crime. No empathy, no justice. No one comes to investigate anything. That is the catastrophic damage of the stereotype of what Reginald Dumas calls a finger pointing. It's not this one, it's that one. We have to always think about this very carefully. In the African community, you have a strong middle class, people who take care of their children. You have professionals. In the Indian community, similar. If someone of East Indian descent commits a crime, it just makes no sense that we cast an entire brush on a community, vice versa on the African community. It just makes no sense. But we have to guard what we have very carefully. And there's a reason that Dr. Williams gave this country democracy over totalitarianism, over fascism, over communism. Democracy allows us to do what we can do here: assemble, talk, disagree, have different ideas. Those are the models, ladies and gentlemen. You follow that, you end up like Navalny in Russia. Seen today, not seen tomorrow, unexplained. That's the reality. And the opposition wants to make this very clear up front, that crime is not a race-related issue. It's a national issue that requires a national response. That's what it is. And of course, you would have heard from the woman who has been the driving force behind all of this, the leader of the opposition. She's presided over no fewer than 200 public meetings, over and over, articulating all of the main points for a national crime plan. But what is the business community has been saying? Well, the opposition is doing nothing, they should meet with the government. Okay, all that sounds good. The door is open if that happens. However, the leader of the opposition, in a public broadcast, made it very clear that she's going to embark upon public meetings to deal with this. We've had the first one sold out, second one sold out, and look at this. Sold out audiences of people who are interested in a national solution. But what exactly is the point of contention between the government and the opposition? It's not about who is on which side. It has to do with the approach. The state's approach is very narrow. A cabinet and a go-it-alone approach. The opposition, but even before I go to the opposition, the go-it-alone approach, just pick up a newspaper on any given day and you look at the disintegration of civic life in this society. And you can see that that kind of isolation is not working. And what is the opposition offering? A much broader approach to embrace everyone. Crime affects everyone. Everyone, despite your religion, race, social background, class, economic status, orientation. Anyone can contribute their own ideas to these town halls so that we could arrive at a consensus to this national menacing problem. That is what the opposition is offering. The opposition leader not only presided over all these meetings, but she has been at the forefront, driving a lot of the ideas for us to arrive at this point. And this is very, very important, that the public understands what the opposition has been doing for all these months. And this does not exclude councillors. They have been a key part of this. From right across the country, all of the councillors, they have been working. And we must say so. So tonight, Chaguanas, this is your anti-crime town hall. It's great to see so many of you here by the hundreds, and I can guarantee you, because of the live coverage, I can guarantee you at the end of it, no fewer than 300,000 watching and listening to us. Everyone, or mostly everyone, I would say, would have an opportunity later on to grab that microphone and have your say. One final point before I bring in the moderator. And probably you didn't notice, but the opposition parliamentarians have done a good deed. They have given up this mic and the one in the audience for you to participate in all of these town halls. And that's a good gesture. So now, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce our moderator, the opposition, the leader of the opposition. Could you please welcome Ms. Kamala Prasad-Bissessar?
Thank you very much, Jerome. Can we welcome Jerome Lewis to our platform? What an honor it is. He has come all the way from Florida to join us. So let's give him a round of applause and thank him very much. And we will hear more from him later. But as Jerome said, we are giving up these mics. And it's our great honor to thank all of you. And those of you inside, there are just as many outside. So give yourselves a round of applause and thank you for coming. And as Jerome said, out on the net, there are many others joining us. This evening, the opposition takes great pride and pleasure and honor in welcoming a very distinguished son of our soil. He's not just known locally, regionally, he's an international scholar. Jerome will go through his really profuse bio in a minute, his resume, but give him a really strong round of applause as we welcome Professor Selwyn Cudjoe. Jerome, back to you, please.
Thank you very much. You know, whenever I'm asked to introduce someone, I have to go through their background. And maybe you take a little time and you say, okay, the person did this, they did that. But this gentleman has such a large body of work. It would take you maybe 3 months or more just to go through it. And then another maybe 5 months just to relate that. But that's not good live television, is it? So it's a great pleasure for me to introduce our distinguished scholar and esteemed speaker. Today, we have the privilege to welcome someone whose passion for knowledge, dedication, and a commitment to academic excellence have made a significant impact across the globe. Our guest speaker is a renowned scholar whose expertise lies at the intersection of Caribbean literature, Black women writers, and African literature. His work has not only advanced our understanding of African American literary tradition, but have also inspired countless individuals in the pursuit of knowledge. His academic journey is a testament to the power of curiosity, hard work, and the transformative potential of education. His role goes beyond the traditional scholar or the academic framework. He's an intellectual. He understands his role is to make a national community feel more of a sense of common identity. Dismantling stereotypes is a task that he confronts with a sober authority. From the New York Times, the Washington Post, the Boston Globe, Harvard Educational Review, the International Herald Tribune, the Amsterdam News, Trinidad Guardian, and now Trinidad Express, his work stands out for its moral clarity. His thoughtful expressions and deep research on the political landscape of Trinidad and Tobago, a society in transition, multiculturalism, cultural policy, and national development is a masterclass for all of us. An author of 84 books and counting, he's never stopped pursuing the idea that our history sparks the fuel to ignite brilliant minds. He's not the rigid intellectual who is bound by his professional training alone. He's moved by causes and ideas that conform to the values and the principles that he believes in. That's why he's here. His political affiliation is well known to everyone. And while his views can be engaging and sometimes controversial, at least you know his forthrightness and his position on any national issue. That's the vocation, ladies and gentlemen, of an intellectual. And as we gather today, let us welcome a son of the soil, a patriot, to give his insights on the current state of our nation and the path forward. Ladies and gentlemen, I now give to you Wellesley College academic and Express columnist. Please welcome Professor Selwyn Kojo.
The Honorable Kamala Persad Besessa, leader of the UNC, distinguished members of the UNC, the Mayor Mohammed, ladies and gentlemen, those who are present, in fact, at this hall this afternoon, and those who are following on radio and television, I thank you so much for coming to hear what I say. I have much to say anything. And they say, makaram, right? They say all that kind of thing. But I'm still trying. But before I do that, I want to thank Ms. John and all the others who have invited me. And I want to recognize, oh God, when you could pull out Louis Lee Singh, you're nice, you know. Because Jerome talked about some party hopeless. It's hope or hopeless? What is the party, Jerome? All right, sorry about that. And my other dear friend, Brian Moore, he's frightened now because he's a big piano man, he's afraid. And Mr. Lizama. But before we do that, I thought I should prepare a small booklet because part of the problem, people feel they just jump into something. And I thought if I were be invited by your gracious leader and Ms. John, that I should put together some essays that I've done over the years. In fact, the first one's from 1983, which could be found at the public library. And I thought I should put it together just to let folks know I've been thinking about some of these things. And so before I start, I would be very honored if the leader of the opposition would come forward and just let me present her with a book in terms of... I know what happened. Let me get it straight. I dedicate this book to Jerome and Jolene and Foster Cummins. But I have a next book called Indian Time I Come, which I did in 2010, dedicated to who? Kamla Prasad Bisasa and the East Indian struggle. So when folks think I'm coming from, I have been one thing in my life, consistent. So thank you.
Thank you, yes. Thank you, Professor.
Thank you so very much. All right, so I'm honored to share my views on the state of crime in our country at this forum, for the simple reason that if the intensity of criminal activity continues, both at the hands of bandits with a gun or bandits who were, or social bandits with pens and computers, at the rate they're going, our situation or the barbarity of the society would decline. Such a situation would make our society unlivable for both the bandit, the white-collar criminal, and the ordinary man and woman. As a citizen of this country, I felt it imperative to accept this invitation and give me a little 2 cents for what I have to say. You may like it, or you may not like it, but honesty impels. I've called my position this evening a quest for truth, and I shall try to outline what I want to do. I said, just again, I also wish to thank the leader of the opposition for really continuing these important conversations. They are conversations in terms of Socratic dialogue. You only arrive at true discourse and discussion, not by shouting and calling people names. If it's something the nation must engage in this time, are really the future of our society. It is more important than constitutional reform. What faces each citizen every day is the question of crime and being subjected to crime at all and every level. And it seems to me that if you want to even talk about constitutional reform, you don't put, for example, Madam Leader, a conveyancer to lead. You know the conveyancer is? And a conveyancer is a man who deals with real estate. When there's so many distinguished constitutional lawyers in this country at this time, including Douglas Mendes, Jose Fayad, and even John Jeremy. So the point is, you start on the wrong foot, and what happens? You end up on the wrong foot. And it's this Vicky-Vi approach to discussion and discourse that has led us to where we are today. My hope and expectation is that eventually a UNC-generated document on these discussions can be shared with every member of the community in the near future. In this way, it will help us to understand where we are, how we got here, and the way forward. As anyone can, and how we begin to approach this question. As anyone here can tell, I am the great-grandson of a slave. His name is Jonathan Kojo, who was born in Tagarigua. You know around the place? We from the East. In 1833. However, for purpose of discussion, on Thursday, December 7th, 1899, Cyrus Prudhomme David, the grandson of another slave, lectured on the topic State Aid to Agriculture at the Victoria Institute in Port of Spain. Slave, almost 125 years ago. And this is what he said. He said, security of the person and property being the first condition of social progress. The principal functions of every civilized government are to protect the Commonwealth against external aggression and to secure to every individual the fruits of his industry. This is a slave talking. 125 years ago. I repeat, he says, security of the person and property being the first condition of social progress, the principal function of every civilized government, and Jerome talked about civility, etc., are to protect the Commonwealth against external aggression and to secure to every individual the fruits of their industry and to live in their place in security. He understood 125 years. Why can't we understand now? He goes on to say, but as civilization advances and the powers of government is felt more and more to be resting upon the consent of the governed, the tendency grows to invest the state with numerous other functions calculated to promote the general welfare. At the present time, he says, the legislation of all self-governed communities indicate that the principle of laissez-faire, the principle of do your own thing laissez-faire, which was never much validity except among English-speaking countries, being universally discarded in favor of a more vigorous principle of state socialism. This is a slave grandson talking 125 years ago. Proudhon Davis made that statement in 1899, almost 125 years ago. However, the question of protecting the well-being of every citizen was taken up again by Dr. Eric Williams, the father of our nation, on November 27, 1970, in what is called the Chaguanas Declaration, Perspectives on a New Society, which he delivered shortly after Black Power. You may not want to remember it, but Black Power was tore us up because we were not acting fairly among all our citizens. And this is what Eric Williams said, the Chaguanas Declaration. I quote, he says, first of all, he dismissed, I think John was going there, the adoption of laissez-faire capitalism, which he called liberal democracy, liberal capitalism, and the ideal of Marxism as guides towards social development. And he has said it, and I shall quote what he said in 1970, quickly after the Black Power Revolution. He says, we must devise, and that's why this is so important, talking with one another in a mutual way to solve our problem, whether you're PNM or UNC or wherever. As Jerome says, this is a national problem. Not a PNM problem, not a UNC problem, but this is a national problem. This is what Eric Williams says. He says, we must devise a system which gives a central place to the idea of the sovereignty of people. Could I read that again, boy? He says we must devise a system which gives a central place to the idea of the sovereignty of people, not the sovereignty of government, the sovereignty of people. He goes on, the people must participate actively in decision making in political and economic matters. They must shape their own culture, wielding all the separate strands that have been imported into our society into one composite national culture. In other words, this is Eric Williams. In other words, they must, after more than 400 years of being acted upon, they must now act for themselves. From being passive objects of history, we must now become active agents in our society. They must shape their own future. In other words, nobody could shape your future for yourself. We at the grassroots levels must say what must be done. No government could do it. And that's why what is being done here is so very important. But you must believe it. You clap, you must believe it. Now, in 2010, after the UNC ascended the government, I put out a short booklet called Indian Time Coming in Trinidad and Tobago that I launched with the late Sat Maharaj, which I dedicated to Kamla and Sat and these Indian strugglers, right there, 210. It included Kamla Prasad's swearing in speech, an Indian arrival day speech. It included Keith Rowley's reflection and resurgence, and it included Eric Williams' The Last Lap. This is 210, y'all, not today. On August 4th, 2010, in my emancipation lecture, the Center of Excellence, I said, after completing the first draft of the book Indian Time Come, I sent a copy to Professor Arnold Rampersad. I don't know if you know him, one of our most distinguished scholars In point of fact, he won a Genius Award, invited to the White House from Trinidad. And I sent a copy to him, and after reading the book, this is what Professor Rampasad said to me, and again, which is replicated, to go and look for it. He says, we must wish Kamala well and expect her to do the best for all of us in the nation. Whether we are PNM, COP, PP, we should not want her to fail, because if she fails, it means all of us fail. And in point of fact, that was written in 210. And in this sense, in this anti-crime conversation, we should all wish Kamala and the UNC well, because if you succeed, all of we succeed. It's a no-win population. About 2 weeks ago, Sugar Aloes, you know Sugar Aloes? Ish. Our song all right? Are doing good? All right. About 2 weeks ago, Sugar Aloes, one of the most gifted Calypsonians, uttered his concern about the prevalence of crime in the island, the Sugar Aloes. He said, people are no longer have value for life and respect for each other and their belongings, as he felt the wrath of criminals after being robbed. The Sugar Aloes. The reporter who carried the report, I think it was in The Guardian, said his trademark gold chains were snatched from his neck by bandits in the heart of Port of Spain. He ended by saying, the Calypsonian, the reporter says, the Calypsonian can no longer wear his flashy jewelry in public or at home. That's how we come. That's where we are. And this is why I'm here this evening, to speak about the troubling challenge to our nation and what I call the title of my piece, A Quest for Truth. A Quest for Truth. Whether one is PNM, UNC, or any other party, it's our national duty to share our views on this important issue. Keeping in mind, as Spudon Davis insisted, that the prime function of any nation is to keep its people safe, and Williams' assertion that people must participate actively in the decision-making in political and economic matters. In other words, all of us, wherever we are, must become active agents in the change that we wish to see. That's a Mahatma Gandhi thing. We must become active agents in the change we want to see. Today, we are faced with a crime situation that has gotten out of control. Murders, home invasion, robberies, rapes, etc. We could go on. It's out of control. It's only our people acting collectively without thinking about your race or class, color or social rank, but acting as sovereign beings can solve this problem. As we do so, you must keep in mind that it's the people, not machines or guns or elegant swagger that must be central to solving crime in the island. People are neither cockroaches. I don't know that. All right. People are neither cockroaches nor miscreants. I think that's the way some other people, they're miscreants and so on, as others have described them. But they are our brothers and our sisters who may have gone wrong, not only because their own fault, but because those of us who claim to possess superior wisdom have failed them. We have to assume our responsibility. We have failed them in many ways as a nation. We must try to understand that without, quote unquote, that bad brand of brigands to which they have attached themselves, they find love and a sense of belonging within that space. That's why they go there. If you can't find love in among the other folks, they're going to form their own bands of brigands, and they shall then use that as a board to launch into attacking all of us. Don't get tired. Fighting crimes and criminals is a national challenge to which all of us must be committed, in which we must all be involved in. Each and every citizen, from the youngest to the oldest, this is a very important point. Each and every one of us, from the oldest to the youngest, must know what his or her role is in this important endeavor under that endeavor. In other words, if I ask you tomorrow or today, what's your role in the solution of crime? I know you're laughing and thinking, what's your role? We don't know what I said, Louis, a good man and thing. But we said, what is the role of each individual? If we say it's a collective problem, the question must be, what are our individual roles? We can't leave it to no government, just the police. So one of the first things we must talk about is what are our roles as individuals. And I'm saying from kindergarten to the oldest must know what is my role. Not if you see something, say something, all that nonsense. Tell me what your role is in the solution of the problem. And against that banner I made, or under that rubric, I make some suggestions. First, Miss John, we should declare 2024 the year of crime. Trinidad and Tobago should declare 2024 the year of crime, in which we direct all of our energies, resources, and insights to end this crime wave. In this way, we signal to the population that making the country safe is the primary business of the entire nation and everyone in that nation. It's not the exclusive concern of government, the police, the army, or the magistrates. It's a concern of all of us. So first point, we must declare 2024 as of course, the year of crime. Point two, national statement on crime. There must be, and that's why I'm so excited about this, because I'm hoping after all of this discussion, it's gone all over the country, that we could have a national statement on crime. In point of fact, in this way we can signal, of course, to the population that making the country safe, of course, and it concerns all of us. Secondly, we must be of one accord, and that's, of course, in terms of national statement of crime. We must be on one accord on how we approach the question of crime. Jamaica, for example, has declared a national consensus on crime, in which every segment of the community is involved. Its national consensus of crime states, and I quote, it says in October 2019, the government, opposition, civil society, and the private sector industry association agreed to support a process of developing a national consensus on crime to transform Jamaica into a safe, secure, and investment-friendly society. A national consensus on crime. The summit in Jamaica's National Summit of Crime concluded with an understanding that successful transformation would require agreement on specific priorities and actions, widespread buy-in by the entire population with regard to the way forward, and, Madam Leader, a bipartisan commitment to implementation. He goes on. This statement, of course, was signed by the Prime Minister, the Leader of the Opposition, the Jamaica Chamber of Commerce, the Jamaica Council of Churches, and many other organizations. I have all of the organizations right here if you want to take a look at it. Even Trevor Monroe. Do we know Trevor Monroe? Oh, you know Trevor Monroe? Oh, God, you know him very well. Oh, God, but he was also a big Marxist. Yes, Rasta. He was a big Marxist. Even Trevor Monroe, the one exalted Marxist scholar, joined his fellow Jamaicans to offer a common front on crime. No one should be left out. Whether this approach has been successful or not, it demonstrates that the first way forward to solve the crime problem, Mr. Lee, have to be a common purpose and a common goal. In this way, each citizen will know what we aspire to, hoping that together we can aspire and therefore together achieve. Let me make a qualification here. Such solidarity does not guarantee that crime will be abated. In fact, a week ago, the U.S. Department of State issued a travel advisory to its citizens against traveling to Jamaica because of, quote-unquote, crime and medical services. the State Department of the US of A claimed that Jamaica local authorities did a poor job, quote unquote, of responding to serious crimes, assaults, and more. It claimed that sexual assaults occur frequently, including at these very inclusive resorts. Jamaica, it says, has one of the highest homicidal rates in the Western Hemisphere. And we must think about it. Are we far behind in terms of our per capita income and our per capita population? These are the concerns. Not whether Kojo come and talk on the UNC platform. Doesn't do with it. This means that we in Trinidad and Tobago have a lot of work to do. We must air our dirty linen in public, as Jerome asked you to do, so that we can come together in common accord. Our goals must be summarized in a few pages or a small booklet so that each and every one of us know what that common goal is. Ignorance is folly. Wisdom is what takes us through. And as the Bible says, wisdom, I see Miss Velda, you know the Bible thing, auntie. Wisdom is but understanding. Get ye wisdom, but get ye understanding. So let's understand. We can't do it alone. And there must be a national program, a small book that says, these are what our goals. It's almost like your Bible. Che Guevara have the red book. Well, you want to go to a red book, but you have to understand, we have to have that. Third, my third position. The involved. Huh? We have a yellow book. Oh, God. Hey, you see the poor minting boy. I didn't say yellow book is a leader of the opposition want a yellow book, boy. So don't come and say Kojo say. Kojo say book. Leader of opposition say book, and John shakes head. Yes. And so Tim go be saying too. All right, so I just saying book. Third, involvement of the entire community. We must involve each and everyone in its solution, which is why this understanding by the UNC or this undertaking is so important. It involves people in finding the solution to their own problems. Each citizen, from the youngest child to the oldest, should know what his or her role is in the solution of the crime. It's not a Viking. Fourth, community involvement. To investigate the crime problem, we must go to the communities where people live, which I think is what we are trying to do here. Is that, excuse me, Mr. Jerome? To investigate crime problems, we must go to the community where people live, where they can offer their ideas freely in their own setting, speaking with one another as a family. This is why Eric Williams launched his, Louis, you remember that? This is why Eric Williams launched his Meet the People tour in 1963. On July 15, 1969, Frank McDonald, a writer from the States who was here, wrote the following letter to Richard Nolt, Executive Director of the Institute of Culture and World Affairs. This is what he said. What Pierre Williams' Meet the People tour. He didn't stay in no little room in Parliament. I know, let's have a tea room and thing. Or your little cabinet. He went to the communities. And this is what Holt says. He says, Williams himself, this is 1963, I have the document. Williams himself has visited every secondary school in the country and most of the hundreds of villages in what he describes as his Meet the People tour. Right now he's embarked on a Meet the Farmers tour since agriculture has become this year's development. Go and talk among the people. Don't fly all over the place everywhere. You go on someplace, I had to go because I was on vacation. No. Your primary function is among your people and find out what they want. That's what Williams did. By the way, did Williams ever take a vacation, Louis? All right, okay. How about Manning? Okay, thank you. Don't go. I ain't saying that. That's asking a question. Oh, neither did the leader. So you have a yellow book and no vacation. So we're going nice. You cannot know your people or speak to their needs if you do not sit down and converse with them in their communities about their hopes and their dreams and their aspirations. And I said These guys, Williams and these guys, worked assiduously because the nation was their first business. Fifth, strengthening the judicial branch of government. Strengthening the judicial branch of government. You can't move forward if the judicial branch is weak. And I say we cannot solve the crime problem if the judiciary does not function efficiently and at optimal level. No case, no matter how difficult or sophisticated, should take years, 10 and 12 years, to be disposed of. The courts, the prosecutor's office, the judiciary must identify all the factors that affect the slow and inefficient ways in which the justice system now operates and do something about it. In a recent letter to the editor of the Express, John Thompson, I don't know who he is, he says, the analysis done by the judiciary just goes to show that the only real issue is a lack of, listen to this, a lack of skill development and knowledge. I know how much money we spend with them. This points to a breakdown in the skills, the standards, and knowledge transfer in the overall legal administration and practice environment, end of quote. Part of the problem lies in the fact that after 62 years of independence, the judiciary must rely completely on the state and the Ministry of Finance in order to perform its most mundane tasks associated with the delivery of its core mission, which is what? The administration of justice. The time is ripe to hold the judiciary, Madam, SC. The time is ripe, to hold the judiciary to account in the administration of justice. To do so, we must allow them unfettered access to financial resources and also to the consolidated fund. All good? Oh, God, give me something, man. Your leader said, get your point. I find you doing nothing, boy. Your leader gave me my thing and you're holding back, done me. I haven't seen Miss John do anything nice. You have to wait for your leader to say nice? Oh, God, don't do me that now. Make me feel at home, all right? Yeah. There must be more diversification in the administration of justice. Everything cannot be centered in the Chief Justice Office in Port of Spain and San Fernando. We may have to opt for a parish system that is similar to Jamaica, where judicial officers in other parts of the country can make their own decisions in matters that concern their region. More importantly, the justice system must become more technologically savvy. Let me say it again now. Miss SC. Is SC a big name? Poor fella. I'm saying that the justice system must become more technically savvy in terms of technology. Thompson notes that digitation and digital transformation tools can play a key role in pushing this thrust ahead. It's too long to talk about only paper. The leader just said, send me a digital copy. She want no copy, she want digital. All right? Julie, you hear me? The same can be said about the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, the DPP. It has not kept up with the technologies in the field. The inability to implement new technologies has led to the greatest inefficiency of its personnel. Imagine, Madam Leader of the Opposition, the DPP office saying it could not file as many indictments as it liked because it was trying to save paper. A lie? Oh God, a lie? Tell me a lie now. You're afraid to save paper? Oh God, Louis. Oh God, don't go there. Brian, how are you doing there? They can't do that. The DPP must upgrade its technology if we are to wage a more efficient war against crime. The DPP deals with criminal matters exclusively. During the COVID period, 2019 to 22, the office dealt with 5 indictments a month, and Dr. Reed, you have to check that for me. During the COVID period, 2019 to 2022, the office dealt with 5 indictments, Mr. Munilal, Mr. Rudilal. Prior to that, it dealt with 30 indictments a month. One cannot solve crimes that are taking place in 2024 using 1994 technologies. Miss John? Miss John, let me repeat now. I know you're nice. One cannot solve crimes that are taking place in 2024 using 1994 technologies. It's backwardness. And it's citizens that must talk out. The legislative people are going to do the thing, they represent it. But we send them that represent us. So when Rudy Lal and Mr. Lee and them fellows gone down there, they speak on our behalf because 25,000 people can't go there. But when they get there, they speak on our behalf. And more importantly, we are the masters. They are the servants. You see how much money you're going to get, Rowley? Sorry, I shouldn't say Rowley. You see how much money? Oh, God, I want to be careful, you know. The SEC, I can't know the business. The SEC will give me 90, from 59,000 to 80,000 a year. A month? Oh, God, I'm lying. I'm telling on myself. And when one thinks that the, what wage is, Brian? The minimum wage is how much? $20. And you multiply 20 by 8 hours a week. And 8 by 5 days a week. The average person making how much? About $3,200. But the SEC, you can't blame the fella because they have a new thing. Gonna get something, how much? Yes, oh God, don't make me. I know the salaries why I have a commission, but don't make my life for them thing. Let's keep the substance of the thing going. All right? I'm talking about the disparities. Because if a man don't have something, he gonna thief. Darwin talks about the origin of the species and adaptation, and Spencer says the survival of the fittest. You can't be moral if you have nothing. I care what you're telling me. You can't be moral or law-abiding. I care what you tell me. I love so-and-so. You have no food to eat. Get down to the basics. Don't do all the cantropeness. Sixth, forget the DP now and the money. Stronger enforcement mechanism. And this is where I have the leader and I have a little difference in terms of what she calls a state of emergency. I have refined it a little bit. I'm saying there should be stronger enforcement mechanism. If we accept the position that criminal activity in our society has increased, particularly among our youths, then we must prepare to take more radical and decisive actions to solve the problem. Oh God, I want some more. They don't give me no kind of lukewarm thing. Make me feel welcome. Rasta, like that. Nice. And Mr. Molina gave me a little thing on the hair show. They gave me a little thing. So he agree with me, no? They're going to eat Fred Hines, but go ahead. Yes. And this is important, on February 7th, 2023, that's last year, I think, the New York Times ran an interesting story, maybe this year, I'm wrong, probably 23, that was entitled, Terror by Gangs, Ecuador Embraces the Hardline Noboa Wake. Daniel Noboa is the president of Ecuador. The story begins, since Ecuador president declared war on gangs last month, soldiers with assault rifles have flooded the streets of Guayaquil, a sprawling Pacific coast city that has been an epicenter of the nation's years of long decisive violence. I'm not asking for the militarization. I want to be specific. And this is what is said in the papers. The city's on edge. Its men and teenage boys potential targets for troops and police officers who have been ordered to take down powerful gangs that have joined forces with international cartels to make Ecuador a hub of the global drug trade. Yet, when people see soldiers pass, many clap or give them thumbs up. The mayor of Guayaquil says, we applaud the iron fist, we celebrate it. it helped to bring peace. Now, these stringent measures are not in tandem with our ways of doing things in TNT. However, I thought that was the trust of the leader of the opposition's position. However, if we wish to break the hold the gangs and criminals have upon our society, we must use an iron fist to take them down. We know, and the police claim, oh God, see if I give me a thing like that. Oh God, I like that. Thanks, darling. We know that the mayhem is caused by no more than 200 or 300 people. The police authorities say they know who these criminals are. Why can't we not have a surgical operation to deal with that matter? These people are not afraid of the police authorities. So we in turn must not be afraid of them. When I was growing up in Tagarigua, little country boy in the orphan home, close to the orphan home, we used to say, if you're afraid of death, we're afraid to kill you. It's called Principles of Street Justice. Such an approach, and this is the important point we have to be very careful of, and we need all our social scientists and our lawyers to work out. And we have to be very careful. Such an approach to the problem will result in the violation of certain human and civil rights of our people. But the price we must be willing to pay if we wish to regain our society, we have to give it serious consideration. We must have the courage to act boldly now. As my mother used to say, don't take a flambeau to look for something in the night which you could find in the day. We know what the problem is. You might have picture oil in your lamp. Do not take a flambeau to look for something at night which you can see during the day. We know what the problem is. The question is, how do we do it? Of course, protecting certain civil rights. But your point is really, we have to have a surgical approach to that problem with all manner of, and say it openly. Be frightened, go to the Privy Council. Never see things so. Be independent. Be your own country. Be a republic. But what the Privy Council go say? I don't understand that. Man, look at me. Are we free or are we subjects? Are we sovereign? At some point, we must assume our rights and say, this is our country. And by the way, the Privy Council want to be again. They say, oh, go and solve your own problem. Seventh, parents' responsibility. Oh, God, Tim, you said that, but let me do it nice now, man. Louis sing on the phone and listening to me. Parents' responsibility. Oh, God, is that right? We must hold parents responsible for the crimes their juvenile children commit. We must hold parents responsible for the crimes their juvenile children commit. In a recent decision of the Oakland Country Circuit Court in Michigan, USA, Jennifer Crumbley was found guilty of involuntary murder for the gun rampage of a teenage son who carried out the state's deadliest school shooting more than 2 years ago. Her son was sentenced to life in prison for killing 4 students. But however, the guns he used to commit these crimes was a gift from his parents. She maybe get 15 years and so on. Husband will get tried. But the point is, parents must be held, however we work it out. Now, we don't have a solution to everything, but these are guidelines how we begin to approach the problem in terms of understanding what it means. So parents, of course, now, while I disagree with the Prime Minister on what he has said about crime, there's one point in which we agree. We cannot evade the question of self-responsibility in these matters. On this, he's quite correct. We must assume self-responsibility. Parents, especially absent fathers, must be held responsible for the violent crimes of their juvenile children. They must be made to pay for neglecting their parental failures. 8, cleaning up the police force. Hello? Clean up the police force, Madam Leader. On November 17, 2016, Acting Police Commissioner Stephen Williams told us that the reputation of Trinidad and Tobago's police service has been tarnished by rogue elements within its ranks. You remember that? He says, and I repeat, he says that the police service has been tarnished by rogue elements within its ranks. He reminded us, and I quote, "The police is vesting trust in the TTPS, and we must do nothing to undermine this. Clear, decisive, and timely action will be taken in every case to remove what we can describe as the rogue element in the police service." Nothing has been done about that. Remind Erla. Say, Erla, you know, you are the custodian of our whatever, and Stephen says there was a rogue element. What has happened with that rogue element? How much years ago? I could count. From 216 now, how much years? 8 years, boy. That's a lifetime. But our God, people must be made responsible. And of course, again, not only councils and representatives can do it, but we, the people, I emphasize the sovereignty of people. You must believe that we are the ones. All right. Of course, it seems to me public trust in the TTPS is low. A lie? Oh, God, tell me something that make me feel like I say, yeah, Rasta. Public trust in the TTPS is low. The general public is afraid to provide public police information about crimes that take place in their communities and the criminals who commit them. That tells us a lot about the distrust they have for the TTPS. They do not feel safe in sharing complaints to the police, but out of fear that the confidential information that they give them is likely to get back to the persons about whom they complain, or is likely to testify against. It is well known that the hands of the criminal reaches out behind the prison bars to revenge those outside the prison bars who dare to cooperate with the police and to exact revenge on them, again, who you think snitch on them. That's not an acceptable position, and we know it. We are not likely to curb the rising crime rate unless the public has greater trust in the police service. And in this area, a lot of work has to be done to reestablish public trust in the TTPS. 9th, attending to economic needs of black youths. They say Julian talking about that, Jerome. And you say your leader concerned about that too. You did, let me say. You said she's really concerned. All right. Attending to the economic needs of black youths is very important. The majority of Trinidadians dying from violent crime are black youths. Last Sunday, the Trinidad Guardian reported, quote unquote, more young Afro-Trinidadians are dying compared to the males in any other age group or ethnicity. Y'all, let me tell you again, listen. They said that more young Afro-Trinidadians are dying compared to males in any other age group or ethnicity. In 2023, 136 Afro-Trinidadians 30 years and under were murdered, while 23 Indo-Trinidadians of the same age bracket was killed. 136 Africans, black fellas, were killed as opposed to 30 or 23 Indo-Trinidadians. And they conclude, this means that 491% more Afro-Trinidadians, males 30 years and under, are murdered than Indo-Trinidadian males of the same age. That's real. That's not their problem, that's our problem. Because it may start by us, but when the COVID got, it hit everybody. When the COVID got, it hit everybody. A week ago, someone sent me a video of several black youths celebrating at a funeral of a prominent gang member. The person wrote to me, there is a type of joy, hear this, The type of joy and celebration in his young death is like a death cult. It's a very deep and serious problem. Every day it gets worse. That's annihilation. That's nihilism. That's what the experimental and those scientists, those thinkers in France would talk about. You are dancing at your death and do not expect to live beyond 30 years old. This was not entirely unexpected. On Emancipation Day, before his Excellency John Kudo of Brazil, of Ghana, I made the following statement. And while I go back to 28, until I'm talking about this long time. I didn't arrive at this tomorrow morning. And that's why I captured most of those things before. And this is what I said. Even as I speak, our liberation is not complete. Even as we speak, our liberation is not complete. Young men in our inner cities of the ghettos, as they like to call their place of residence, are choosing their coffins. As one of our young Calypsonians, Magnus Dan, reminded us, few of them expect to live beyond 30 years of age. In our ghettos, death stalks our children and our young people with vengeance. During slavery, few Africans lived beyond the age of 30. Are we going back to that? Are we going back to slavery? During slavery, the lifespan was 30. And we in Trinidad, so I see all the nice Starbucks, German like Starbucks, and all the nice thing, and they build up coming through Chaguanas, all the nice thing American have. But we have to be very careful. 10th, the dignity of work. Dr. Williams addressed the nation shortly after the Black Power revolts in 1970. He titled his address, Revolution and Dignity. He ended with the following words. This is 1970 after the Black Power revolts. It says, the rights of humanity must commence with special assistance to the black man to make up for historical injustice and the time lost through his exclusion from the economic and social and even political progress of the 19th century. Then he says, let us, fellow citizens, now dedicate ourselves to this question of human dignity, beginning necessarily with the black dignity and the establishment of economic power. The establishment of economic power without which there can no be dignity, confidence in the fact that we lead forward. Without work, and work is not just getting a salary, are the habits of work that we cultivate. Today, black people find themselves at the bottom of the economic ladder. They keep sinking deeper into the quagmire of poverty. Although there's not one major, Madam Leader of the Opposition, there's not one major industry in Movant or Lavantil. Yet we believe that we can speak about black dignity and black pride in the absence of productive and meaningful work among these young black men and women. In point of fact, I saw Bob Marley thing last week, right, Gerald? Bob Marley now, you have a film. I never reached here yet. It's called One Love. I saw it Wednesday. I had to go check him out. And this is what Bob Marley said. I know you like Bob. This is for you. I know you like Bob. Our revelry put it this way. Them belly full, but we hungry. A hungry mob is a hungry mob. A rain or fall, but the dirt is tough. And yet a yoke, but the yield no enough. I'm gonna sing that. Oh God, he said all of that. Thing rough. We have to give jobs. And in this case, both the UNC and the Panama failed us in this regard. Unless we put our youths to work where they live until they understand the dignity of work, there is no way of getting out of this problem. And the obligation, I make it very clear in terms of this situation, that that in order to deal with this problem, we have to deal with the question of And I'm saying in this case, both parties have failed us in that regard. We have to do more work there. What's that? 11, a national cultural policy. We must devise a national cultural policy. In order to realize our humanity, we must develop a national cultural policy that speaks to the needs and aspirations of our people, particularly the younger members of our community. How many people know what the Ramayana is? But I know it from now. You know what the Ramayana is. Hussein, Hassan, celebration of our Prophet Muhammad, who sinned and our sin when he died. How many people know that? How many people know what Gayap is? We do not know our culture yet. Yet, it seems to me that, of course, this notion of a national cultural policy, and I'm coming to an end soon, that, of course, I see Martin Daly, someone who loves Pan and so on, is talking about the need, and I brought this up in 1983. This is what Martin Daly says. The panorama bond is strong, enduring and intergeneration. When will some sensible cultural policy emerge in order to seize upon this? And we know how much money we have poured into, the NCC. I'm not going to go into that. But by my reckoning, from 1991, we have poured something like $3.2 billion in the NCC. And what do we have for it? Absolutely nothing. They haven't put in books. They're not even audited reports on that. Now, it seems to me, 12th, and this is most important, UNC's unique contribution to our public discourse. I want you to listen to this very carefully. Because you say, I think Kurt up there, I know we have talked about our Creole society and all that kind of thing. So I want Kurt to hear this. It seems to me that this conversation, Madam Leader, is the UNC's unique contribution to our public discourse. At his press conference on 5th of February, the Prime Minister characterized these hearings as a papi show. You remember that? A papi show. In his own imperial manner, he proclaimed, "You think I have time to papi show myself around the country with the opposition leader? I mean, I have no problem with the opposition leader who wants to talk with me. But there's just papi show going on there." Again, I take a public stand. Herein lies to me the linguistic contortion, even the intellectual dishonesty of the Prime Minister's approach to the important problem and his lack of respect for civic engagement. Solving our crime problem should never reduce to a discussion between the Prime Minister and the leader of the opposition. This issue concerns the well-being of a severely traumatized society that affects our psychic health, and if we don't deal with it quickly, we'll have a problem. It seems to me this anti-crime convention should never be characterized as a papi show. In my view, it's a public performance taking place in a public arena where citizens are encouraged to make their contributions in an open and transparent manner. I will skip my 13th point, but the leader has it. 14. I'm coming to an end. You're laughing, you're going out. See, you want to talk to your Prime Minister. You want to talk to me, it's all right. 14. Civil discourse and respectful listening. When I attended St. Mary's Anglican Church school in Tagarigua, my teacher had all kinds of wonderful proverbs on the wall. One thing he says, 4 things come not back again: the spoken word, the sped arrow, Tim, the past life, and the neglected opportunity. We cannot get very far if we don't respect what others say. While members of both parties have been guilty of throwing words at one another, such thoughtless obscenities cannot lead to a fruitful and positive resolution of this problem. Now I went on, I want to talk about, and I want to read this because I think it's important. I'm reminded of a contribution Fitzgerald Hines, Minister of National Security, made at the Government Crime Symposium that took place at Hyatt in April last year. He said, among other things, he says, and I want the leader to listen carefully, he said, among these beautiful photos of people at the symposium, hear me, this is a man who is in charge of national security for everybody. There are few featuring the sour, big-time loser, the evil woman from Siparia, the filthy rich one from Oropuch, rum-soaked lout Miss DeMark, and skinhead upstart were all there. These discourteous lost souls remain seated while the entire gathering stood to congratulate Dr. Roll. I am saying that these words have absolutely no place in public discourse, and there must always be respectful listening and I'll come into my last point. I'll come in general. Really, this last one is very important. Because we got to think, we talk, and that's why I call Kurt, he's a big man and talk about the thing on the cruelized society. We must think about this society is not just simply a cruel society, or it's also a society that deals with Indic philosophies. We all brought something from where we came. We all break something. This is why, again, this is important. I'll end on close to this note. 15. Truth is God. Truth is God. And I've entitled my paper, A Quest for Truth. I start by saying that. Many of us see these hearings, Miss John, as a way to get to the truth of the crime problem into the open. Because dialogue, in the Socratic sense, is one of the better ways to arrive at reality. Not through monologue, but through dialogue. This is why I support and embrace what the UNC is trying to do in this regard. However, and I want you to listen carefully, even to remember anything I said tonight. Remember this, because all of us sometimes take ourselves for granted and don't understand how important we are in terms of making our contribution to the national zone of culture. However, there's a deeper philosophical reason why this anti-cleric conversation represents one of UNC's finest moments, and why it constitutes a unique contribution to the nation. For the past 69 years, the PNM has ended its meetings with a rallying cry, "Great is the PNM, and it will prevail." Many people who utter that phrase do not know that Dr. Williams took this phrase from Cicero. It's a Latin aphorism. Of course, he took it from the Latin aphorism that says, "Magna est veritas et praevalere," which means, in its original form, great is the truth, and it will prevail. In other words, Dr. Williams substituted, Louis, the word PNM in place of the word truth. And this is what undergirds the statement, "Great is the PNM, and it will prevail." In doing so, Dr. Williams drew from a Western tradition of thoughtful and informed understanding of this phrase. It also comes from the apocryphal text. You know, in the Bible, it's the canonical text and James and Peter, and then there's the apocryphal text, or the hidden text. And this phrase is also found in one of the apocryphal books of the Bible, Esdras, chapter 4, 41 verse. It reads, and this is what the Bible says. This is, of course, it's from the apocryphal text. It says, "And with he held his peace, and with that he held his peace. And all the people then shouted and so said, Great is truth, and mighty above all things." Comes from the apocryphal text, not the canonical text. Sometimes we forget that the Eastern world has made its contribution to democracy and intellectual thought. The great Mahatma Gandhi possessed another conception of truth. That's why it is so important. The great Mahatma Gandhi possessed another conception of truth. In his writing, he said, "Truth is God." Tim, am I doing all right? Mahatma Gandhi said, "Truth is God." And God is truth. In fact, the word satya is derived from the Sanskrit sat, which means truth. J. Meher, a writer of India, says, Gandhiji believed that truth is the first thing to be sought for, and beauty and goodness will come then after. This is Gandhi. In fact, the subtitle of Gandhi's autobiography is what? The story of my experiment with truth. That's Gandhi. Which expresses conviction that life is an internal quest for truth and perfection. And this is why the anti-crime conversation is so important. It relies on another way of seeing the world and another avenue of arriving at the truth. We can always follow Western people. We have our ways. That is from the philosophical trust of the sacred language of Indic philosophy, which we must embrace if we will become one people. And what's the Indic philosophy? It consists of the philosophical traditions of the Indian subcontinent, includes Buddhism, Jainism, Sikhism, and Hinduism. And that's where Gandhi was coming from. But it's another way of seeing the truth. This is why the UNC should end every session of this anti-crime conversation with a cry, great is truth, and it shall prevail. Such a declaration, Ms. John, will convey to Trinbagonians that this anti-crime conversation is concerned with seeking truth, bringing together people of all persuasions to solve a common problem as it seeks to perfect our society. In the end, this is what democracy is all about. I have one more page. Oh God, give me a little something. Oh God, give me a little. Give me a little something now. Chanka, give me something now. Don't put too much of boys in the sea. Did I put some boys to hold me down? Transparency is my 16th point. In seeking to discover the truth about the escalation of crime, we should ask our office holders, particularly the Prime Minister and the members of his cabinet, to declare what was their wealth and of the immediate family in 2015 and what it is now. In that way, we can see if crime is paying for them or not. I'm making a scene we could see. Whether the increased wealth resulted from the escalation of crime, which we say in philosophy is causal, or whether the increased wealth, if there was any, just happened at the same time that crime increased, which again in philosophy called correlational. Is it correlation or causal? I just asked that question now. Don't say I say nothing. You're empty the suit. And so I end as I began, pleading for the principle that animated this anti-crime conversation, and going back to my ancestors to understand if my people are destined to return to the condition we thought we had overcome when the British ended slavery, or forced to end slavery, or later the iniquities and the iniquitous conditions of indentureship. As my friend Margaret Burnham stated in a book recently by Hands Not Known, slavery was so inimical to natural law that it could only be sustained by positive law. We have to make it. I know the law is. Sorry, I know. I always saying it right. Frederick Douglass, one of the most illustrious African American scholars and freedom fighters, died on February 20th. That's tomorrow, 1895. That is 120 years ago. He dedicated his life to improving the conditions of oppressed people as he fought against racism and bigotry. In his fight for equality, he once said, and this is important, I would unite with anybody to do right and with nobody to do wrong. Frederick, don't come to the crime thing, them people and all that. No. As a principal physician, the most illustrious member is the most photographed. Frederick Douglass is the most photographed man in the States in the 19th century, more than Lincoln and everybody else. And he once says, I would unite with anybody to do right and with nobody to do wrong, end of quote. In this particular instance, and on this particular occasion, I stand with UNC because I believe it is doing the right and noble thing. Moreover, I stand in solidarity with the UNC not because I love my party or my political leader less, but because I love my country more and feel compelled. You like that? I'll get in line again. I'll get in line. But one more clap when that line comes through because it's the last place. Moreover, I stand in solidarity with the UNC not because I love my party or my political leader less, but because I love my country more and feel compelled to speak out against the brutal slayings of so many young black men every day and the unease that so many citizens feel about what is taking place in our society. We, the members of the general public, must intervene to stop this carnage. We can start the process with dialogue, in terms of Socrates, with one another in peace and sincerity, in spite of the spilled blood and the mayhem we see every day. I pray that all the divine powers give us the insight to discern the right and the courage to discover the truth and the conviction to say, I am my brothers and sisters' keepers. Perhaps, last line, Mr. Gopi Singh, perhaps like Gandhi we could say, great is the truth and it shall prevail.
I think if we were to summarize Professor Kojo's speech, he's really saying call an election now, right? Yeah. I'll give you 2 minutes if you want to say it. Ladies and gentlemen, just before we move on, there are some fine people. I want to recognize the Chief Operating Officer of the United National Congress, Dr. Gopi Singh, welcome. Thank you for coming. And also, Mr. Bisesa, and the platform man himself, I'm seeing there, Dr. Munilal. Yeah? Now, for those of you on the outside watching in, you can proceed to come inside to make your contributions, share your ideas on the microphone inside. There's also an email address that you can use to send in your ideas. It's ttopposition2020@gmail.com, ttopposition2020@gmail.com. And very quickly, before we move on, we want to recognize some of the key people who have been working tirelessly behind the scenes for the Town Hall 1, Town Hall 2, and now this one. Kevin Gibbs. That's the man who sometimes when you talk on this, you get no sound, and today you have sound. Kevin Gibbs. Dr. Kurt Mehu. Michael Rajnath. Mr. Peter Kanai, very quiet guy, always in the background, just getting all the infrastructure done. Sunjali Prasad, Nicholas Morris, who hosted the first two, did a great job. Saddam Hussein, Khadija Amin, Jolene John, and of course, all powered by the opposition leader, KPB Plus. Let's give them a nice hand for a great time. In times in which bringing people together is more crucial than ever, our next speaker stands out as a testament to the power of good leadership. She spent most of her life in public service, committed to making our society better, advocating for change, whether for children, for single mothers, or just the ordinary citizen who feels isolated. She has seen it through the lens of a minister, a prime minister, now the opposition leader. She has the right philosophy. She knows that a living wage builds a stronger middle class and lifts the society to its best potential. She knows that working together rather than going alone is counterproductive to national development. She knows that collaboration is much better than confrontation. An open door allows for more voices, for active debate and participation. She knows that leadership roles must not be handed down, but earned on merit. One of the key attributes of her journey is her unwavering commitment to the principles of justice, equality, and freedom. Even when we sometimes prioritize power over principles, this leader has stood tall as a beacon of hope for those who seek a society built on fairness and inclusivity. Her policies and decisions have consistently reflected a dedication to the welfare of all citizens, irrespective of the background or status. She's also a good decider. She decided to establish the laptop program so each child in this country can have a chance, a viable future. She decided to establish the Children's Life Fund, not only for those without financial means, but as a statement that humanity should exist. None of us are without flaws, and this leader is no exception. However, it is when we acknowledge these imperfections that we truly appreciate the complexity of leadership. But even as a good decider, she's not the only one who is going to decide where we go from here. All of you, the thousands watching and listening tonight, will be deciders in 2025. All of us. And as the American president, Abraham Lincoln, once observed, he said, nearly all leaders can face adversity. But if you want to test the true character of a good leader, give them power. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to address you former Prime Minister and Opposition Leader Kamala Persad-Bissessar. Oh yeah, thank you.
Okay, we've had a very lovely evening. I say it's coming on to later than evening, but good evening all. Sharon has acknowledged everybody in the crowd, so give yourselves a round of applause and thank Sharon. And I know we will open the floor, so don't panic. And I see a long line is waiting. And yes, a lineup. And that's why we are here. Professor Kojo, can we give him a standing ovation, round of applause? He was not afraid to speak the truth, and he's given us a new mantra. Do you all remember what it was? Great is the truth, and it shall prevail. Thank you, Professor, and thank you for all the comments you've made. So I'll just spend a few minutes with you, and then we'll open the floor. And Jerome has given you the email address, so that if you can't get to speak today, you can send your emails. Can we also welcome our friend here, Johnny Abraham? He has been with us before, shared his thoughts and views, and he remains listening to us. So, look, all the acknowledgements. Can I go say all protocols observed? Love you all. Thank you all so much. It's good to see so many of you here. Again, this is our third town hall meeting, and of course there'll be more. can I advise you, our next town hall meeting, anti-crime, is going to be on the 4th JJ, 4th of March, and it will be in the Sandy Grande, Toco region. So we hope to meet the people there, we see the folks there as we travel the length and breadth of the land. Now, it's easy to understand why so many people have been coming, why so many people have positive things to say. I think even the media have seen the value of these talks, and their reporting has, without a doubt, they've raised more national interest. Do you all agree? Yes, they've been the most good reporting. I am not one to bash the media. I am not the other guy. I am this woman, the good woman from Superior. And why are so many people coming? Why? That answer is very, very simple. Very simple. People are coming to get their voices heard. They want to be seen. They want to be heard. People are coming to tell us of their trauma and their pain. And you know, Professor Kojo gave us, 16 points tonight? So we now have, after these crime talks, in addition to what John Abram told us and the others before, Professor Daisley, we add to that another 16 points from Prof. Kojo. Thank you so much. So people are coming out to help us craft solutions. And we are here to listen. This is your time to talk. But as you know, we had to start by stating the problem first. I checked the newspaper today. 64 murders. This year alone. How many days do we have in the year so far? Not anywhere near 64 days. So there's a murder, almost one murder in every, about average, 16 hours in our country. Yes? And what does the Prime Minister say? I will not repeat him. You have heard him. Prof has spoken about him. I'm not going to waste my time on a waste of time person. So here we are. We had to state the problem. And for all of us, this crime problem, fees like when electricity cut off, pitch dark. The place goes pitch dark. And what happens? We lose our bearings. You don't know where to turn. You are blind in that darkness. You start to fumble. You don't know where to turn because you can't see. That's how many of us feel now in this darkness of crime that has overtaken our country. Professor Daisy, you remember the first crime talk. He reminded us about the endless stream of young bodies in the morgue, murdered all. Prof shared some stats with us here tonight. So that's a very dark cloud over our beloved country. We cannot get away from it. Crime is always graphic. Our esteemed speakers presented common problems, offered excellent solutions and analysis, and many of you over time have also stated your problems. So these talks have been all about caring. They're all about listening to each other, all about caring to listen. And there's a name for it, Professor. When you spoke earlier, you described the process, but you know what's the name for it? Participatory democracy, where everybody participates. That's what this is about. So these talks have been about caring. It's about having everyone participate in our democracy, and that's the name for it, participatory democracy. We have tried, and we are creating a platform for anyone to contribute ideas about how we can live safer, happier in our own country. Since we started the talks, the entire country has been following. We have seen and heard so many people with testimonies and solutions. Let's give them a round of applause. And let me say, let us not judge one another when we speak about our fears or even our terrible experiences with crime. After all, we are only human. We have all in some way been traumatized by crime. Every person here in this room and outside knows someone who has been a victim of crime, knows someone who has had the pain and the trauma of crime. Am I correct, every one of you? Everybody knows in this country about the trauma of crime. And we all feel nervous, talking sometimes in front of a crowd, but look today, watch your lineup. Well, give them a round of applause, waiting to speak out, Professor, waiting to participate in this democracy. I must applaud everyone for how mindful you have been in all the talks so far. All the speakers were so respectful. You have to be respectful to all our esteemed speakers and members at our audiences. And that is so good to see. And you know, just like the great songwriters always write about, I think the most written about topic, Sasha knows about it, is what? Love. It's about love. They talk about love. They say love is contagious. I want to add that respect and empathy are also contagious. And so, together with the love, we must have the respect and empathy. You all have shown that when people care to listen to you, you feel cared for and respected. And that is our intention. So let's keep the respect going, keep it contagious, and make our solutions contagious as well. I'm going to talk about another effect tonight. It might be very simple and obvious. We come here, we talk to each other, we learn things, we share things, but there's something else that we can do. Let me ask you also to share, as Professor has said, that there's more. Each person has that responsibility, you said. Every one of us. So it's not enough to come and sit and listen. Then you jump back in whichever car box you came in and you go. There's more that each one of us can do. You might not at first see how it offers solutions, but you take with you and keep an open mind, you'll see the great value. And it's what happens at these talks. It happens when you leave these talks. How are they helping? What do you do next? What can you apply to your life or community? How could you become a change maker? Prof spoke about that too. Change maker. A change maker against crime. And how could you make these solutions contagious? We need everyone to become such change makers against crime. And so I say, we know everyone cannot live and have a 10-foot fence. We know that. Everyone can't live in a fortress. Everyone can't have armed bodyguards or any kind of arms whatsoever. Indeed, you might have all of that, and still you could be a victim of crime. We have seen that happen. So what am I talking about? I'm talking about how you share your insights from these talks with a wider audience. Can you please just give me a minute? You're disturbing me, please. Thank you very much. Can you give them a round of applause to stop disturbing me, please? It's okay, Kiva, I understand. I know they have to work, so they're doing their best. It's a little disturbing. Thank you so much. So I'm asking you then, on behalf of all our speakers and myself, if you heard an idea that you think can work, please share it widely. We say in the era of the internet, make the ideas go viral. If you heard something and you have more questions about it, please organize your own cottage meetings and brainstorm about how they can work in your community, in your village, in your neighborhood. When you hear that, set up in your own villages and your communities. And when you do that, invite your MPs and your councillors and others so we can continue to share the word and spread the gospel of the truth. Not the gospel of the PNM, but the gospel of the truth. So I'm asking you this because we cannot cover everything here. We will not have every answer to every problem, but we care to share these ideas with each other. And look at the scale we are doing it all. If we keep the momentum going, we must succeed with great ideas. We all want each other to be, as I said, happy, safe, and healthy. So let's talk. Let's listen. Let's care. Let's make these actions and virtues contagious. As I said, it sounds very simple, but I bet if there were hundreds of such cottage meetings in every community, we can spread the gospel of the truth and look for solutions. And let your councillors and MPs and others know they're very interested and they want to work hard, you know. They work very, very hard. You know, they talk about the salary increase, Prof. And they're asking what is opposition view on it. I'll tell you this. That is a matter for the government. The opposition has no say. I said in Parliament last Friday, let the opposition have its say. What happens? The government has its way. That is how the Parliament works. So that is for the government to decide where they want to go. But if it were me, I wouldn't go down that route. I wouldn't go down that route at all. What I would say is this. You see people only looking at the parliamentarians, and they work hard. These guys work very hard, okay? But it also covers people like councillors. It covers all the senior public servants who work very, very, very hard. All is about a few hundred people. They should benefit from it. You could leave us at the top. You leave Rowley, no. Okay? Kamala, no. The president, no. But give the rest of public servants, give it to them. Give it to them. They deserve it. But I think he's just feathering his nest knowing he's going to lose the next election. So he wants that pension one. Anyhow, I wasn't going there. No. Professor, you caused this. Yes, you caused this. You raised it, you raised it. So I'm certain, I say, let's meet and greet together. Let's have the cottage meetings in the constituencies, in the villages, in the communities, and so on. And I'm sure MPs, councillors, mayors, aldermen, all of them, they're eager to hear your solutions. A friend who is a systems design person tells me that this approach to policy design is called participatory design or co-design. So I don't stay on the top on design. I'll come back again to Professor's word, everyone has a part to play. It's when lots of people come together to share their views to enrich the entire process of policy design. Please don't take the suggestion to have your community crime talks lightly. Just do it, okay? You should give experts a fair hearing, but you should also have confidence that you also have good thinking and you also find good solutions. Be confident in your thoughts and your abilities. As I close, I say to you again, let me make it very clear that we certainly appreciate every one of you for being here, for contributing, and feel free to keep sending your contributions. We have been very blessed and honored to have both Jerome Lewis, again, let's thank him, and the goodly, brilliant Professor Kojo. He did what they say, he didn't put water in his mouth. He was very clear. So what do I say with you all again? Great is he, and it shall prevail. And great also is the UNC, and it shall prevail. I thank you, and God bless you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right, so good. Yes. So we can go to the first person who's right on the floor. Just give us your name, sir, and proceed. And folks, let's try and just keep the statements brief so that everyone can have an opportunity. If you have a question, you can pose that to the political leader or Professor Kojo. Go ahead, please. Thank you.
Good evening to the Honorable Leader of the Opposition, Mrs. Kamala Prasad Bisesa, His Worship Mayor of Chaguanas, Farooq Mohammed, MP for Chaguanas East, Miss Vandana Mohit, all MPs, councilmen and women, aldermen and women, members of the media, and all guests present. I am Banjala, the 2020 Calypso monarch, and also known within the Ifa Orisha community as Baba. I stand before you today with a heavy heart as I address the pressing issues that are affecting our beautiful Twin Island Republic, particularly the escalating crimes and violence that have spread fear and distress among our citizens. We as the people of Trinidad and Tobago deserve to live our lives without constant fear of violence and crime. It is crucial for the present government to provide not only answers but concrete solutions to address the root causes of these issues and ensure the safety and security of all citizens. The recent desecration of our sacred places of worship is an alarming indicator for the depths of which the perpetrators of these crimes are willing to sink. It is imperative that the authorities take immediate action to protect the religious institutions and uphold the values of peace and harmony that are integral to our community. In my 2024 Calypso contribution titled Sackcloth and Ashes, I emphasized the need for a revival in our soul to heal the wounds that continue to take their toll in our nation. Trinidad and Tobago desperately needs a revival in governance, UNC. one that prioritizes the well-being of its people without prejudice or discrimination. Let us come together as a united front to demand accountability, transparency, and effective measures to combat crime and violence in our country. It is only through collective action and a commitment to positive change that we can overcome these challenges and ensure a brighter future for all citizens. I thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good night to our mother of the nation, the Honorable Kamala Persad Bissessa, who will be the next Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago. I want to hear a better clap than that, man. Yay! All right. All right. They warned me, so half a minute gone there already. So I just want to, before I give my contribution, what happened to me in crime and my family. So before I do that, I want to tell my good friend here, he was talking about 3 first class, middle class, and last class. But I will tell you something. Under the UNC government, led by our mother and her team, we had first class, middle class, and lay. Under the wicked, non-function PNM government, we have first class and last class. I have nothing in the middle. All right? So this is how we go. All right. Now, in one of our crime meeting, because you could see this face, Melvin, all is in all. All right? Our mother talk about the country, we need a state of emergency. The non-function government again say what we need that for. What they don't know is we, the people, the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, right now we are doing it ourselves. When 6 o'clock we don't leave home. We're afraid to leave home. I'll give you one at that one time. I have my sister come a couple of months ago from Germany. She told me, say, Melvin, about 7 o'clock, 7 o'clock. She told me, Melvin, let me come and drop me from Freeport. I live in Ellenburg. She said, just drop me and come back. And I coming back. As I swing to go to the driveway in the apartment, and I park, it's about 3 right there, Plum Tree. I see this vehicle just stop there. My little daughter, stand up there, babe. Stand up, Marina. Look, she did. My little daughter and my wife come out the car. I tell her run inside. Well, I already went to empty my clip. But they reverse back up that hill. Well, anything they come in. Because my mother say, Lego the clip, empty 2 clip. I had 2 big bucket full of clothes clip and I going with it for them. Don't worry. I was going with the 2 bucket of clothes clip and I was going to Lego it for them. All right? Yes, I was going to Lego the 2 bucket. And well, all I hear is one ball, the left side door. The person who put out the football, well, I will help you. Because the speed ID running back, he say, oh God, it's about 4 clip, you go get it. Not 2. All right? That is 1. I used to live in Lamont Street, Londonville. About a stone throw away from the police station. About 9 o'clock, between 9 and half 9, badang, when I come outside, a car gone in the drain. 2 guys jump out and start to run. I pick up the phone and I call Londonville police station. It takes them about 10 minutes or 15 minutes to get through with the call. When I do get through with the call, I say like somebody, because the person just at the car went down in the drain, they jump out and they gone. Police, when he do answer, I don't know if he eating KFC or he talking to his girlfriend. I already can't say. So when he do answer the phone, I say, he say, how you know that is that stolen vehicle? I say, before a man gone on in the drain, come out and start to run, what you think he doing? He jump out and start running. I say, if you come now, the car idling, the lights on, that had to be a thief vehicle. Just give me 1 minute again. I said, 2 or give 1. It's going good. So, this is something we had to do. So, when the police come, about 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, well, wherever the car, what I am saying, what we could do to resolve this, is that every station record every call that come in. So we will be less hearing, we have no car, because I was going to bring the police. As I come and follow, they say, no, don't come. You can't transport police. So I think, if we, the citizen, together with our mother, say, the first thing we're going to do is make sure every police station, every call that come in recorded. When the inspector